Hi there. As I, what's that? Burton Cummings. Yeah, don't you remember you guys went to a concert there a couple of years ago and you brought me back this shirt? It's about the second time I've worn it. Yeah, well, pays to advertise, I guess. Anyway, I was talking to somebody in the hall, the apartment building, the other day, and he mentioned to me that he'd seen a guy on TV being interviewed representing the tourism industry. And this guy was saying, I hope by next year the skies will be filled with airplanes. And he said, I just shook my head and said, my God, I hope not. We just got this place cleaned up. I suppose they'll let the planes do whatever they want. They'll let them mega industries pour effluent and crap back into the rivers and oceans and streams like they did before. And we'll go back to the way life was, back to normal, whatever the normal is. Well, you know what the normal is doing to the planet. I'm not a big believer in taxing the pedestrians and the drivers and giving the money to big industry to clean up their act because we're not the one who made the mess in the first place. I worked in the automotive industry, back when they decided that cars were polluting a lot, but to put these catalytic converters on the cars that made us pay for them, meaning the people who bought cars. I thought to myself, why are we paying for this? We're not the ones that built these cars that polluted the air. Sure, we drove them, but what was our option? So here we are again. Our erstwhile government, led by our erstwhile prime minister, have put good old cap and trade tax, whatever you want to call it. So we're paying 5, 10 cents in the pump now for every liter. So God, what is that in what is that in U.S. terms? 50 cents a gallon. That's not bad. And collecting billions of dollars here. What is he going to do with this? He's going to give it to these friends of his. Perhaps I'm being too cruel. To these manufacturers and business people who support his campaign when he runs. How's that? A little, keep it a bit of a distance. But we know he's helping out the right people. And we're going to pay these guys. Do you think these guys are going to spend all this money to clean up their act? Bullshit. Down the road, those guys are going to say, well, that was okay, but I think I'm going to need a few billion more. Better raise that up another 5 cents a liter. That isn't going to solve anything. We, you know, what was it whenever the liberals get elected? A friend of mine always says, I guess we'll be dragging out the old income tax form they talked about a few years ago. And I said, what's that? How much you make? Send it in. We'll let you know how much you can spend. We'll spend it for you. Anyway, I guess I'm not a liberal. My grandfather was, so you can imagine how many years ago that was. And in fact, he knew Lester Pearson personally. He said, not a bad guy. I don't know if he'll ever be anything important. So what is just a character he was. Anyway, he lost all his money in the crash. Which crash was that? Oh, I think 29, 30, about the time I was being considered by my parents. Um, yeah, so it was ever thus, I guess. No, I don't. I don't see why we have to pay for our prime minister's foibles. And when they talk prime minister, we go back to Honorable John K. King. We used to travel in Europe, people would say, "So how's Prime Minister Putin doing?" We'd say, "Putin, yeah, yeah, isn't that his name?" Well, he's French Canadian. Actually, it's not Putin. It's Cretin. Cretin. I was no fan of his. He's the guy who first promised farmer care for everybody. I believe our current Prime Minister and Christina Freeland, or whatever her name is, who wants to be the next Prime Minister, just promised it again. See, that's about 40 years. I wonder how many more years they can get. Maybe my great grandchildren will live to see that. Anyway, I'm not going to talk any longer. Bye for now.